Topping today's news, the opposition leader says the government and the Grand Bahama Port Authority using each other as scapegoats over the failed Grand Bahama economy. A local attorney says a former government official involved in a recent murder should face additional charges. And Monday was the anniversary of the death of the father of the nation, the late Sir Lyndon Pinling. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us today. Don't play games with people's emotions. If you are serious about solutions, be about it, said F&M leader Michael Pintard in reference to the government's position on the proposed 6.3% rate increase by the Grand Bahama Power Company. Mr. Pintard has been accused of being silent on the issue because of his wife, who works for the Grand Bahama Port Authority, allegedly. Before diving into the issues regarding the Grand Bahama Power Company, Mr. Pintard wanted to set the record straight as it relates to his wife.
This whole issue of GBPA, let me just say first of all, my wife works at Hutchison Whampoa. I'm a former employee of Hutchison Whampoa. She does not work for GBPA. That's one of the major lies told by this administration. And I put it at the feet of the leadership of the PLP. And I put it at the feet of the member of parliament for Pine Ridge, who knows my wife personally, and still permits the government to run a lie that our stance has something to do with where she works. Because again, I'm fair game. Don't fool with my wife. Don't get into that, because you know it's a lie.
Mr. Pintard made the comments while appearing as a guest on the Grand Bahama-based Dove 103.7 radio talk show, Make It Make Sense, with host Darren Cooper. That was on Monday. He then went on to blame successive governments and the Grand Bahama Port Authority for the poor state of the Grand Bahama economy, accusing them both of pointing the finger at each other, which is only hurting the residents of Grand Bahama even more.
But here's the issue. The government is having a public row on a matter that they have the moral authority and suasion to cause some things to happen. The question is, why aren't you having that conversation? I believe that the government is behaving similar to GBPA. Both central government, and I include the F&M because we are now just out of office and coming back either next year or 2026. So you have central government, and then you have the municipal government, correct, which is GBPA. They tend to use each other as scapegoats. When our people are angry, like when the natives are restless, let's blame somebody else for what we are not getting done.
Mr. Pintard is encouraging the government and the Grand Bahama Port Authority to have open and honest conversations because the people of Grand Bahama are desperate for change. As for the electricity rate increase, Mr. Pintard said the F&M intends to meet with all stakeholders before it makes a final decision on how to approach the matter. But as it stands, he said the opposition does not agree with a rate increase of electricity at this time. On Monday, Mario Bannister, the former managing director of the Clifton Heritage Site, was charged along with Christian Napier and Dante Riley with conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Philip Adderley, who was found bound by the hands and feet and stabbed to death in waters near the former Stewart's Cove. That was on August 15th. Bannister was also accused of acting as an accessory to the murder by providing a vehicle, a red plate government vehicle, to be used by the killers. Meanwhile, on the steps of the magistrate's court, following the arraignment on Monday, attorney and former deputy leader of the Coalition of Independents, Maria Daxon, speaking to reporters, says Bannister should face additional charges. She had the following questions for the Attorney General, Ryan Pinder, and the Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernando.
Could you please tell the Bahamian people why Mr. Bannister, Napier, and Riley was in charge with aiding and abetting? I smell a rat, right? You want to charge Mr. Bannister for accessory after the fact? Just was planned. The conspiracy. There's a charge said aiding and abetting to commit murder. What happened to that charge?
Bannister and the other two men were denied bail. They were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until February 13th for the service of a voluntary bill of indictment. That's 2025. In the wake of the Office of the Prime Minister's announcement, the termination of Mario Bannister as Director of Clifton Heritage following his alleged involvement in the murder of Philip Adderley and several other incidents involving government workers, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman and Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell on Monday said the following as a word of advice and perhaps a warning to public officials.
Remember one clear principle of ministerial government, and by extension all of us in public life, including managing directors of corporations. You are responsible for the consequences of your personal conduct. We taught that lesson to all the would-be candidates, members, including corporation chairpersons and wannabes just before the 2021 general election. Your personal conduct should not adversely impact the party, and when there's a conflict, you should fall on your sword. We have seen examples of this in the administration twice since the general election, and it is an important principle for us to remember this week. The leader should not have to ask anyone what to do.
In September of 2023, police notified that an employee in the Department of Information and Technology at the Office of the Prime Minister was being investigated concerning possession of firearms. That male employee was later charged. And just a few weeks ago, a female personal assistant of a junior minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, along with her husband, were charged with possession of illegal weapons and ammunition. And finally, in this segment, Monday, August 26, marks the 24th anniversary of the death of Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling, considered as the father of the nation for the tremendous work he did as leader for 25 years, implementing many of the national institutions and industries we rely on today to make Bahamian way of life, or to make Bahamians' way of life better, including the National Insurance Board, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, just to name a couple of them, while also making the Bahamas a regional leader in any number of areas. Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling became Prime Minister in 1967 at the age of 43. At the time of his death on August 26, 2000, after battling prostate cancer, he was just 70 years old. We here at JCN remember and honor his legacy. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.